Swish! A cold glint suddenly flashed in the night sky, accurately hitting the zip line and cutting the rope. The man who was descending lost his point of support right away. Caught off guard, he began falling to the ground. Big brother! Bastard! The four people who had stayed behind on the rooftop saw this scene and immediately let out exclamation and low shouts. Fortunately, the man who fell was a 6th-grade martial artist. In his realization, his body rolled in mid-air. He released his true energy and stepped on the air. At the final moment, he managed to stabilize himself and successfully landed on the ground. Even so, the fear still lingered. His face was pale and covered in sweat. "Who is it?" the man shouted as he turned his head to look in the direction of the dart. Killing intent shot out from his eyes. "Continue." He took out a walkie-talkie and locked his gaze on a building 100 meters away as he ordered. "Okay, big brother." On the rooftop, the four people who received the order were stunned at first, then they threw down another rope. One of them tied to his waist and turned to descend. This time, no more darts came flying. The descending person successfully reached a window on the top level of the library. With a rope holding him, the descending man pressed himself against the wall, retrieved his tools, and quickly removed the window glass. Then, he swiftly entered the library through the window. Swoosh! Swoosh! A strange sound was heard. Two more people came down from the rope and entered the top floor of the library through the open window. One was left on the rooftop while the other stood on the ground, guarding the air and ground respectively. Jingxing, who was hiding in the corner, blinked when he heard the movements of the five people. It seemed that he was not the only one who had designs on the ancient books here in the library. This group of 5, and people lying low in the building 100 meters away. Including Jingxing, there were 3 teams. And they were very lucky. All 3 teams had coincidentally bumped into one another. More importantly, the experts guarding the top level of the library had yet to appear. During Jingxing's previous operation, he had sensed his surroundings, but hadn't found anyone guarding the place. Aren't there experts guarding the top level of Xiantian University Library 24 hours a day? Why have they disappeared in the early hours? Did they forget or were they lured away? Or perhaps, they were affected by other external forces and happened to be away at this time of the morning? Jingxing thought to himself. A moment later, he quietly walked out from the corner. Instead of approaching the person on the rooftop, he moved swiftly along the wall from another direction and circled around before entering the library through the open window. Inside the room, the 3 people who had entered earlier were searching for their target on the rows of bookshelves. Jingxing entered silently. Without alerting them, he first found the simple explanations of array formations and put it into his palm space. Then, like a ghost, he left through the window and still made a big detour to return to the rooftop. Because the structure was an upside-down bowl, both people on the rooftop and the ground didn't notice him. His speed was too fast. Jingxing completed his mission, and no one in the 2 teams noticed. The reason why Jingxing returned to the rooftop was because when he was about to charge into the sky, he suddenly spotted a person standing on the rooftop of a building in the distance. He was looking towards the library. This person's aura was almost completely concealed, but with the support of Jingxing's night vision and distant vision, he still got a clear look of the person's appearance. Liang Yiqing, the director of Xiantian University Library. The appearance of this director meant without a doubt that Xiantian University was aware that something had happened to the library. Apart from Jingxing who wasn't discovered, the other 2 teams were most probably monitored. And 3 people from one of the teams were still on the top level of the library, looking for their target. Jingxing didn't know what realm Liang Yiqing was in. Just in case, Jingxing decided to return to the rooftop and hide in a dark corner. It wouldn't be too late to leave after Liang Yiqing had dealt with the 2 groups of people. At the same time, he wanted to see how Xiantian University would deal with the people who sneaked into the top level of the library. Kill them directly. Or cripple them. Killing was too ruthless. It would not be good for Xiantian University as they could easily make enemies. But with crippling, what extent would they go to? Break the limbs? Or their dantian? Su Jingxing was very interested. No one on the internet exposed these things. As for recognizing Liang Yiqing, it was because his photo was published on the official website of Xiantian University together with information about his relevant position. The position of director of Xiantian University Library was not one an ordinary person could hold. Although Liang Yiqing kept a low profile, his name was also recorded with the authorities of Qinghe City. He was a key target to look after. It could be said that Su Jingxing happened to be present at the right time so that he could stay behind to watch the show. This wait lasted for more than 10 minutes. When the three people who entered the top floor of the library got the information they wanted, they slid down the rope to the ground. The person left on the rooftop also descended to the ground. The five of them gathered together and prepared to retreat. Swish! A cold glint suddenly appeared again. It flew out from the building 100 meters away and headed straight for the five people gathered together. One of them was unable to dodge in time, and his shoulder was struck, causing him to let out a pained cry. Although his mouth was quickly covered by his companion, his shout still broke the silence. Logically speaking, at this point, Liang Yiqing should have made a move. However, he was still standing on the roof and showed no intention of moving. Su Jingxing sensed for changes in Liang Yiqing's aura, but there was actually nothing abnormal. How strange. Does Liang Yizhan know these two groups of people? Or is he waiting for the two groups of people to engage each other so that he can benefit from it? Su Jingxing squinted and felt that his second guess was more likely. Indeed. Less than half a minute after the dart was thrown, a figure dashed out of the building 100 meters away. He used his lightness skill and stepped on the air to arrive in front of the five startled people. Thinking of leaving? Put down what you found in the library. The person said coldly in a deep voice. He was dressed in black from head to toe and had a mask concealing half his face. To see his face clearly, the mask had to be removed. Snatching our stuff? The leader of the team of five sneered when he heard the threat. You really don't know what's good for you. Someone's actually thinking of snatching something from my hands. Go, move fast and cripple him. Old man Liang will be back in 10 minutes, let's finish this quickly. Swish. 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 The three uninjured men held short swords in their hands and released their true energy to attack the threatening man in black. Dang dang dang. As the man in black retreated, he brandished a dagger and easily broke the siege of three people. Die. When the leader saw this, his expression changed. He rushed over and joined the battle. The four of them joined forces and surrounded the black-clothed person. Instantly, the black-clothed man fell into a disadvantageous position. The leader was the strongest, and his participation had a big influence. The fight was almost one-sided, forcing the man in black to retreat repeatedly. Su Jingxing stood on the rooftop and listened to the commotion. Without much effort, he visualized the entire battle in his mind. The man in black was at a disadvantage. Moreover, he was increasingly becoming no match for them. Facing the ferocious attacks of the leader, he kept stepping back. He's probably going to run. Su Jingxing muttered inwardly. Sure enough, after another half a minute, the man in black realized that he could not defeat them and decisively flashed to escape. However, it's too late to leave now. A deep and aged voice sounded. Boom! The sound of rushing wind burst out. A majestic aura rose from the roof of a distant building and descended on the heads of the men in black and the five-man team instantly. Liang Yiqing had made his move. Su Jingxing heard the commotion and came out from the corner. He stood at the edge of the rooftop and watched the situation on the ground. As soon as Liang Yiqing appeared, the black-clothed man didn't leave. Instead, he approached the five-man team. The weapon in his hand flickered with cold light. Plkch. A strange sound was heard, and blood sprayed into the air. It was the injured member of the five-man team whose throat was slit by the black-clothed man. As blood splattered, his eyes widened as he stared at the sky in disbelief. Then, he fell straight to the ground and stopped breathing. Third brother. Ah! I'll kill you. The leader and the three remaining people went crazy upon seeing this. Liang Yiqing. I take orders from Director Lu Chen of CIN Bank. This fellow killed my third brother. If you don't want someone from Xiantian University to die, help me catch him. The leader shouted angrily at Liang Yiqing who had landed. As soon as he finished speaking, he pounced madly towards the man in black. Liang Yiqing was speechless. Su Jingxing was speechless. Damn, this guy is so arrogant. Not only did he steal the information on the top level of the library, he even threatened Liang Yiqing. CN Bank. Lu Chen. Su Jingxing knew of the former. The ancient banknotes in his palm space were issued by the predecessor of CIN Bank. This bank was a giant and was a multinational bank. Its business spanned more than 10 countries. Su Jingxing didn't know who Lu Chen was, but he knew that he must have a powerful background. Otherwise, the leader would not dare to use him as a trump card. Su Jingxing only knew that the very first founder of CIN Bank was called Lu Xian. So this Lu Chen is from the headquarters of CIN Bank? Su Jingxing's eyes flickered. While feeling surprised at Lu Chen's background, he was also speechless at the man in black who played weak to catch his opponent. That's right, this fellow had previously fallen into a disadvantageous position and was forced to retreat in defeat. It was all an act. Su Jingxing could more or less guess what his motive was. Fool Liang Yiqing. As expected, the black-clothed person clearly knew that Liang Yiqing had already appeared. Earlier, he deliberately lost because he didn't want to fight with Liang Yiqing and chose to retreat. Who would have thought that Liang Yiqing wouldn't let him go? He clearly hadn't gotten what he wanted and yet wasn't even stopped from living. The man in black decisively stopped concealing himself and showed his hand. Once he struck, he killed the injured member of the five-man team. This left the leader with no choice but to expose his identity and threaten Liang Yiqing to help. Would Liang Yiqing help? Su Jingxing watched from a distance with interest. Swish. Swish. Boom. The sound of rushing wind, tearing, and explosions resounded almost simultaneously. Liang Yiqing moved. The old man was actually helping them to deal with the men in black. Has Xiantian University taken a loan from CIN Bank? Su Jingxing smacked his lips. It wasn't that he couldn't accept this fact, but he was a little surprised that Liang Yiqing had acted so quickly. After all, Xiantian University was a faction with a legacy of around 1,000 years. Although it was a little decentralized and its overall power was not strong, it was not weak either. It was also considered a top faction among the surrounding countries. Now, he was giving aid once he was threatened by a person. It must be because Xiantian University owed CIN Bank something. The man in black might be concealing his strength, but... F***ck, what's going on? Suddenly, Su Jingxing's pupils constricted as he looked at the changes in the scene. That's right, it was an unforeseen event. After Liang Yiqing entered the playing field, he started targeting the man in black. However, after approaching the four other men, he suddenly changed his target. He acted and killed another person from the team of 5 with a single palm strike. This scene shocked both the leader and the black-clothed man. You. Boom. Liang Yizhan struck out with his palm. His terrifying true energy erupted and released a majestic aura, striking the leader at close range. With a crisp sound, the leader was hit in the chest. His entire chest caved in, and he flew back more than 10 meters before finally collapsing to the ground, dead. Big brother. In their shock and anger, the remaining two men shot hidden weapons and poison powder at Liang Yiqing. Then, they each chose a direction and escaped separately. Yes, they didn't risk their lives to seek revenge on Liang Yiqing. Instead, they chose to flee. The same went for the black-clothed man, he chose a direction and swiftly flew away. The capabilities that Liang Yiqing revealed were actually that of a fourth grade. None of them were a match for a fourth-grade expert. Therefore, they decisively chose to flee. If they didn't, they would die. Liang Yiqing's motive behind this strike was very simple. To silence them. As long as both groups of people were dead, no one outside would know what had happened tonight. So what if they were from Xi'an Bank? Without evidence, what could the Lu family do to Xiantian University? TSK, how domineering. Su Jingxing witnessed the entire process and quickly thought it through. He praised Liang Yiqing's decisiveness inwardly. Impressive, as expected of the director of Xiantian University Library. It made sense, how could a fourth-grade expert bow down so easily? A sixth-grade martial artist dared to threaten a fourth-grade expert. He was simply courting death. Just as Su Jingxing was looking into the distance, Liang Yiqing caught up to the three fleeing people. A fourth-grade expert was chasing after a certain someone with everything he had. Under the eruption of his true energy, be it speed or strength, it was not something that a sixth-grade martial artist could compare to. Liang Yiqing only completed a few sprints before catching up to the three of them and killing them. The moment the three of them died, Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. He felt as if he was being watched. Immediately, he turned his body sideways and looked at the roof of a building hundreds of meters away. He saw a person looking at him through binoculars. When Su Jingxing looked at him, the other party was shocked and immediately turned around to run away. TSK, this is going to be interesting. Su Jingxing did not chase after him. Although the other party had discovered him, he was wearing a mask and a cloak. It was impossible for them to recognize him. The true wounding power of this person who escaped had been put on Liang Yiqing or Xiantian University. Liang Yizhan killed two groups of people. One of them was from the headquarters of Xi'an Bank. Putting the man in black aside, once the people from the Xi'an Bank headquarters were to learn that the five-man team had been wiped out, Xiantian University would be in big trouble. Liang Yiqing who had acted to kill them would face even more trouble. In short, things were going to be lively for Xiantian University subsequently. Su Jingxing was secretly delighted and didn't remind Liang Yiqing. It was not that he did not want to, but the commotion here had attracted experts from other corners of Xiantian University and they were rushing over. If Su Jingxing didn't leave now, he would have to stay and fight with them. Pushing off the ground, he circulated his true energy. Whoosh! Amidst the rushing wind, Su Jingxing soared into the sky and first landed beside the three corpses. He extracted the card, then quickly rushed into the night sky and disappeared into the horizon. Damn it! On the grass not far away, Liang Yiqing looked at Su Jingxing who disappeared in the air, his expression extremely grim. Swoosh! 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 The sound of rushing wind approached. On the ground and in the air, figures were dashing towards Liang Yixiao. Old Liang, what's going on? A burly man with a rough voice was the first to arrive. He landed on the main road at the periphery of the grass and glanced at Liang Yiqing. Looking at the scattered corpses, he then asked with a frown, "Who are these people?" "I don't know about the one in black. The other five are from the headquarters of Xi'an Bank." Liang Yiqing's expression was overcast as he shared in a low voice, "Their superior's name is Lu Chen." Lu Chen. The eldest son of the Lu family, the one who just arrived in Qinghe City yesterday. Ma Shifeng walked over on large strides and said in a deep voice, "What are people from the Lu family doing here?" "The Lu family has the same materials that we have on the top level of the library." "I don't know." Liang Yizhan's face was still dark. I only left for 2 hours and 3 groups of people had come to the library. 3 groups. Upon hearing this, the burly man who was the first to arrive scanned the surroundings and asked doubtfully, "Aren't there only 6 corpses here? You said that 5 of them were a team, why? The third has left." Liang Yiqing wore a somber expression as he explained, "The other party's ability to conceal his aura is extremely terrifying. I didn't discover him from the start until the end. It was only when he soared into the sky and left that I realized that there had been another person here at the library tonight." "Wait a minute, you said he soared into the sky?" A plump middle-aged man blinked and asked, "Are you sure he wasn't stepping on air or water?" "I'm not blind." Liang Yizhan scowled as he snapped, "If he had walked on air, could he have left successfully?" "I'm just confirming it." The middle-aged man touched his big belly and smiled bitterly. "The third person is a 4th-grade martial artist. We're in trouble now." The burly man who arrived first was silent. Ma Shifeng was also silent. The others had shut up as well. Liang Yiqing pulled a long face all this while, and fear flashed past his eyes. Stepping on the air and flying in the sky for a short period of time. This ability could be achieved by most 6th-grade martial artists as long as their lightness skill was good. In fact, such flying could not be considered true flight. It was just gliding. However, only 4th-grade martial artists were capable of soaring into the sky and sweeping by swiftly. Those in the 5th grade could not achieve this, let alone 6th-grade ones. Even the lightness skill cultivated was of a very high level, it would still be useless. The reason was simple, their cultivation was insufficient to support the flight. It would require at least 50 years of true energy cultivation to charge into the sky and fly quickly in the air. Those with true energy cultivation of more than 50 years were basically 4th-grade martial artists. Especially this 4th-grade expert. His concealment skills were so outstanding that Liang Yiqing did not notice him from the start to the end. It was obvious how powerful the other party was. If he had wanted to assassinate Liang Yiqing, there would be no way for Liang Yiqing to escape. This was the reason why he was wary and still shuddering with fear. Same reason. A 4th-grade expert had his eyes on a certain piece of material on the top level of the library. Could they defend against it? Maybe. But was there a need to become enemies with a 4th-grade expert over some materials? There was no need for that. Given his realm, he could have just approached them to borrow the materials. Although the materials and ancient books on the top level of the library were precious, most of them were replicates. It was not a big loss to lend them out. Did he have to go so far as to sneak in secretly? The same went for Lu Chen from Cin Bank. Why was he looking for the materials kept on the top level of Shentian University's library? Ma Shifeng, the burly man, and the others were both suspicious and troubled when they thought of this. What did these 2 groups of people take? Ma Shifeng took a deep breath, broke the silence and asked. "I just checked. 2 maps." A skinny tutor handed Ma Shifeng 2 maps that he had found on the corpses. "There's nothing on the man in black that Elder Liang mentioned," another female tutor added. Ma Shifeng nodded and took over the map. Under the light from the street lamps, he opened them and took a look. The others moved closer and looked at the map. "Aren't these the flow direction map of the Sky Water River and the route map of the Green Cloud Mountain Range? What are they doing with these 2 maps? Who knows? Maybe they're looking for some kind of treasure, like the Jingxing treasure trove that the Shi family purposely spread news about. Jingxing's treasures really exist. It's just that no one knows where they are. Based on what you said, they should have gone to the Shi residence to search for the map. Why did they come to us for the maps? I guess they're mad." A few tutors gathered together and discussed in low voices. Meanwhile Ma Shifeng, Liang Yizhan, and the others pondered with frowns. Compared to the trouble of killing 2 groups of people, they were more curious about their motives. Why were they looking for maps of Sky Water River and Green Cloud Mountain? At the same time, in an ordinary estate on the east side of the university town. Seventh young master, the photo is out. Someone shouted in the sealed room. At once, 5 people rushed out of the other rooms and came to the living room. How did it go? Did you find out who it was? The girl with a ponytail asked happily. See for yourself. A young man sitting in front of the computer pushed the monitor screen to the side. Alright, let me take a look and see. The girl opened her mouth and appeared speechless. Who can tell from this outfit? The photo on the computer screen captured a half-body shot of Su Jingxing wearing a cloak and a mask. It was expected. The young man with light golden hair said calmly, Brother Wang said when he came back that he had just captured the target and was discovered by him. He was able to detect it immediately from hundreds of meters away. This person is an expert, he's at least in the 5th grade. Most importantly, little Wang discovered that there were 2 other groups of people there besides this mysterious masked man. The old man, whose hair and beard were meticulously groomed, said in a low voice, these people coincidentally went to the top level of the Xiantian University Library in the early hours. What is their motive? It's worth pondering. You mean that their motive is the same as ours? The girl's expression changed. The young man with light golden hair also frowned slightly. If they really share the same motive as us, things will become troublesome. Yeah. The young man who was playing with the mouse added, if it's the same, I'm afraid the news has been leaked. We all want to find the map. The problem is that no one knows where the map is. We only know that it's in Xiantian University. Not necessarily. The eyes of the well-groomed flashed. He analyzed, although the news has been leaked, not many people know about it. Also, the map hidden in Xiantian University might not necessarily be a map. Tai Ming Mountain Reservoir. Plop. As the water splashed, Su Jingxing released his true energy and enveloped his entire body. He then dived into the underground cave. Familiar with the route, he soon arrived at the underground cave. Standing in front of the concentration fruit tree, Su Jingxing took out the simple explanations of array formations and the energy-gathering stones from his palm space. Flipping through the pages of the book, he found a basic array formation. He buried the energy-gathering stones in the ground according to the nodes of the array formation. This basic array formation could be stacked, as long as there were sufficient energy-gathering stones, it could be expanded outwards continuously and the array formations would increase. With every stack, the effect would be doubled. For this reason, Su Jingxing took out all the energy-gathering stones and formed 3 circles around the concentration fruit tree following the lines of basic array formations to triple the effects. Tripled effect, the acceleration of maturation would be 3 times faster. It was not enough. In order to have the concentration fruit tree to move through 90 years' time within a few months, it had to be at least 10 times faster. If the acceleration of maturation could be sped up by 20 or 30 times, it would take even less time. The problem was, where could he get more energy-gathering stones? This thing could not be found on the market. Even in the black market, they were rare. The major factions did not even have enough for themselves. It was the same for the martial arts families in Qinghe City like the Li, Zhou, Qi and more families. They used energy-gathering stones to set up their special training rooms. The same went for the Martial Suppression Office and the City Guard Office. They basically won't sell energy-gathering stones. Unless one used other treasures to trade with them. Did Su Jingxing have any extra and useless treasures? Nope. The spirit weapon, Thunderbolt, the newly obtained 5 elements ring, a few secret abilities, ultimate arts like the 9 steps trampling heaven were all of use to him. The blood drop heretic art was a possible option. Su Jingxing just had to memorize the martial arts theories inside. As for the function cards, he would never let anyone else know about them. In any case, Su Jingxing had no use for the blood drop heretic art, nor would he ever choose to use it. Let's leave it to the Martial Suppression Office to safeguard. It will save me worries and effort. The only thing to worry about was whether Li Linzhou would be tempted by the blood drop heretic art and cultivate it in private. Although the blood drop heretic art was incomplete, if one cultivated it, they could advance to the 3rd grade. Even though there was only a single grade difference between the 4th and 3rd grades, they were poles apart. Ignoring true essence, just martial art true intent alone could make most martial artists go crazy for it. Take for example Sherzini. Such an ambitious and ruthless character would kill countless people and stop at nothing in order to advance to the 3rd grade. Li Linzhou had been stuck at the 4th grade for more than 10 years now. Su Jingxing could not guarantee that he could resist the temptation of advancing to the 3rd grade and reject the blood drop heretic arts. If Li Linzhou were to fall into the same trap and get addicted to the blood drop heretic art, starting a killing spree to advance to the 3rd grade, Su Jingxing would be an accomplice. The consequences were too severe. At this thought, Su Jingxing gave up on the idea of exchanging the blood drop heretic art for energy-gathering stones. Instead of creating future trouble with endless casualties, he might as well try to buy it in private. Whether it was the information about the energy-gathering stones or the stones themselves, he would exchange for them using money. As long as the price was right, Su Jingxing didn't believe that no one would take the bait. The 10 billion Great Yu dollars had been transferred. Su Jingxing had no use for the money. If he left them in the bank, it would be benefiting the bank. The remaining people of the Stone Annihilation Alliance could be put to good use again. He would get Shen Qian and the others to spread the news, collect information about the energy-gathering stones, or purchase them. That's right, let's do it this way. He made up his mind. Su Jingxing left the underground cave and returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. When he reached home, the sky was already bright. He sent a text message to Shen Qian using his phone and went to the bathroom to take a shower. After washing up, he casually made some food. Just as he sat down, a notification sounded on his phone. He clicked on it and saw that it was indeed Shen Qian's reply. No problem. Seeing this, Su Jingxing made a call and explained everything in detail. In the end, he instructed, if there are any ready-made energy-gathering stones for sale, send me a message. I'll go collect them. Yes, Senior. Shen Qian replied respectfully on the other end of the call. I will inform you immediately if there is any news. Yes, regardless of whether there are ready-made energy-gathering stones or just information about it, as long as you complete a transaction, you will be rewarded with 1 million Great Yu dollars, Su Jingxing said. No need, no need. Hearing this, Shen Qian quickly rejected, we are very honored to be able to work for Senior, how can we accept money? Senior, don't worry, we. Alright, that's it. Without waiting for Shen Qian to finish, Su Jingxing hung up the call. He had no lack of money, so there was no need for him to owe others favors. Although even if he did, Shen Qian and the rest would not dare to say anything. But that was not Su Jingxing's style of doing things. Previously, both parties had a common goal, they shared a cooperative relationship. Now that he was contacting them when there was no longer a common goal, it was better for their relationship to be simpler. The price Su Jingxing offered was enough remuneration. Even including the purchase of energy-gathering stones and information about them, the price was quite high. Shen Qian and the others spread the news. In less than half an hour, many people in Qinghe City knew that there was a big client who was willing to pay a lot of money for energy-gathering stones. Very soon, an operation regarding the energy-gathering stones began to grow that morning. Su Jingxing himself stayed at the crematorium to move corpses and extract cards. The next morning, Gu Bo called him once he appeared at work. Little Su, there's an outdoor task. Why don't you come with me? Sure. Su Jingxing nodded. The two of them immediately got into the corpse transportation truck. Gu Bo drove them to the southernmost waste-to-energy plant in the western district. The task this time was to pick up a corpse from the plant. There were many sources of electricity in Qinghe City. Hydropower, thermal power, wind power, geothermal power, etc. The most important was hydropower. 60 years ago, in the upper reaches of the Sky-Water River, big money was spent to build a dam and establish a large power plant. Wind power generation was employed by building windmills on the mountains on the periphery of the Green Cloud mountain range. Geothermal power generation was not large here. In the beginning, thermal power was burning coal. Now it was basically burning garbage. There were 2 power plants in total. They were located in the southernmost part of the western district and the northernmost part of the eastern district. Su Jingxing and Gu Bo were heading to the power plant in the south of the western district. It was the larger one. The corpse transportation truck drove at full speed. When they arrived at the power plant, there were many people gathered at the entrance. What happened? Puzzled, Gu Bo pressed the horn. They're here, they're here. Everyone, move aside. A middle-aged man who seemed to be the leader stood on a high ground and shouted at the crowd, the corpse transportation truck is here. Everyone, make way. What's there to make way for? The corpse of a dead person whose cause of death is unknown can't be transported away. Yes, hand over the murderer. Otherwise, no one can take the corpse away. What are you doing? If we don't take the corpse away, are we supposed to leave it here, let it turn into a corpse puppet and kill everyone? F***ck off. Little Yen has only been dead for less than an hour. How can she become a corpse puppet so quickly? Hee, who knows if there are any corpse-raising insect eggs nearby? That's right. Hurry up and transport the corpse away. You people are not afraid of death, but I haven't lived enough. All sorts of curses rose and fell, resounding non-stop. A group of people blocked the entrance and were making a racket. Their voices spread far and wide. Seeing this, Gu Bo stopped the truck and waited for an outcome. Since the people at the power plant were not anxious, he was even less anxious. Su Jingxing leaned against the window and listened for a while, figuring out the cause of the commotion. A young employee named Yen Shiyu suddenly died. The cause of death was a huge force striking the chest, causing the entire heart to collapse. But the murderer could not be found. Naturally, the person in charge in the power plant was eager to have the corpse collected and cremated as soon as possible. The compensation and whatnot could be slowly calculated afterwards. But Yen Shiyu was very popular, especially when he had taken over his late father's duties. Many of the workers at the power plant were his father's old friends. After Yen Shiyu's father passed away, these people took care of him in all aspects. Now that Yen Shiyu had suddenly died, they had to pursue the matter to the end no matter what. They joined hands to force the power plant to find the murderer. As for the group of people who were arguing with them, their relationship was ordinary. Compared to finding the murderer, they were more afraid of Yen Shiyu's corpse suddenly turning into a corpse puppet. Because of this, they worked hard to stand by the power plant and to push for the corpse to be dealt with as soon as possible. The two groups of people quarreled non-stop. The manager in charge shouted until his voice was hoarse from the side, but it was useless. Yet the transport trucks that were transporting the garbage arrived one after another and stopped behind the corpse transportation truck. The pungent smell spread out in all directions. Su Jingxing simply held his breath and stopped breathing. Gu Bo took out a mask and put it on. He was so angry that he jammed the horn. The transport trucks behind also honked loudly. It couldn't be helped, even the drivers found it smelly too. Under the pressure of the loud horns, the two groups of people finally stopped and made way. Of course, Su Jingxing was more willing to believe that they had called a truce because they couldn't stand the increasingly pungent smell. The stench at the garbage power plant was strong to begin with, not to mention a row of transport trucks filled with garbage parked together. It could be said that the smell was unconquerable. Without any obstructions, the corpse transportation truck and transport vehicles quickly entered the gate. After entering, they separated. The corpse transportation truck went straight to where the corpse was left, at the corner of a warehouse. When Yen Shiyu's body was discovered, he was collapsed in a corner with his back pressed against the wall. There was a dent in the wall, and the edges were full of cracks. Su Jingxing got out of the truck and quickly scanned the scene. He found a lot of mucus on the ground. There were traces of mucus in the corners and on the cement ground. Although it wasn't much and not quite conspicuous, Su Jingxing could tell at one glance that there was something wrong with the mucus. The murderer is not human. Su Jingxing's heart skipped a beat. This thought sprouted because the mucus left behind on the scene was very much like the secretion of some animal. This secretion didn't smell that bad, or perhaps, the stench was being masked by the smell in the garbage power plant. "What's the matter, little Su?" Gu Bo's voice came from the side. Su Jingxing came back to his senses and shook his head. "Nothing. I just feel that this deceased died quite tragically." "Indeed," Gu Bo said coolly without batting an eyelid. "I've seen many worse than this." Su Jingxing was speechless. Alright, team leader Gu was right. As a corpse collector, the numbers of corpses he has seen in tragic states must be countless. Su Jingxing put on gloves and cooperated with Gu Bo. They put Yen Shiyu's body into a body bag and put it in the back of the truck. Then they closed the door and prepared to leave. Boom! Right then, a loud bang was heard from the area ahead on the right, accompanied by the horrified screams of the power plant staff and the roars of mutated beasts. "Ah! There's a monster! Run, run! Get lost! Get lost! Roar!" A low, ear-piercing roar rang out, releasing a terrifying sound wave that swept out in all directions with the factory as the center. Everywhere it passed, the people who were running were all screaming in pain. They were kneeling on the ground, hugging their heads and covering their ears as they shrieked endlessly. Electronic equipment exploded one after another, releasing sparks and electric arcs. The electric generator in operation stopped working on the spot, shooting out countless electric currents. Swish! Swish! Boom boom boom! Bang! Muffled explosions resounded non-stop, even turning into violent explosions. A frightening shockwave swept through most of the power plant. Gu Bo, who was half kneeling on the ground and covering his ears, was sent flying by the shockwave right under Su Jingxing's eyes. He crashed into the corpse transportation truck and fainted on the spot. People who ended up like him were everywhere. For a time, Su Jingxing was the only one who was not affected in the huge power plant. He released his true energy to form a protective barrier around himself. Looking at the broken cameras, Su Jingxing decisively dashed to a corner, took out his mask and cloak, and quickly put them on. Then, he brought out his treasure-throwing daggers. Following the direction of the roars, he soared into the sky. Crack! Crack! Bang! 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 Boom! Sparks flew and electric arcs shot out. Loud noises could be heard from time to time. Su Jingxing, who had leaped into the air, saw the power plant's buildings collapse at the first moment. A silvery white snake that was as thick as a water bucket rapidly shuttled through the ruins, spitting out electric arcs. No, it wasn't a snake, it was an earthworm. A silvery white earthworm that was more than 10 meters long and as thick as a water bucket opened its toothless mouth. It was crazily devouring the electric arcs in every corner and in the air. An earthworm that ate electricity, a mutated earthworm beast. Earthworms were invertebrates. It had become a mutated beast, not because of the infection by the beast spirit devil insect. Rather, it was a natural evolution that came suddenly. To be honest, Su Jingxing was a little surprised when he saw the big guy. A mutated earthworm that devoured electric arcs, did it mean that it had stored a lot of electricity in its body? Thunderbolt, the spirit weapon that had finally recovered, was lacking the supplement of electricity. Wasn't the appearance of this mutated earthworm giving him a large battery for free? That's right. In Su Jingxing's eyes, the mutated earthworm that was now roaming on the ground was a battery. No matter how it turned into a mutated beast, why it rushed out of the ground, destroyed the power plant, and absorbed the electric arcs. Su Jingxing was bent on having it. Swish. 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 His treasure-throwing daggers tore through the air and flew towards the mutated earthworm at once, hitting the enormous body that flashed with electric arcs. In the end. Bang bang bang. With muffled sounds, the three throwing daggers were repelled. At the same time, a series of sparks bloomed, and under the stimulation of the electric arcs, another explosion occurred. Boom! 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 Interesting. In midair, Su Jingxing saw this scene and decisively switched to use fist techniques. He circulated 60 years of true energy cultivation. Locking onto the mutated earthworm that had stopped moving and had raised its ugly head, he punched down. Boom! A silvery black fist imprint smashed down from the sky, causing the empty air to explode. The violent force that was released descended and formed a clear circular pathway through the air. At the end of the pathway, the mutated earthworm opened its mouth and roared into the sky. Roar! The terrifying sound wave was born again. It was like an assault cannon that was released from the mouth of the mutated earthworm. It moved upwards to meet the silvery black fist imprint. The two collided in midair. Bang! A deafening blare echoed hundreds of meters away. The shock waves from the collision swept out in all directions. Everywhere it passed, things collapsed, shattered, or split apart. Amidst the chaotic sounds, the silvery black fist imprint and the terrifying sound wave neutralized each other. One moving down, one pushing up. A strange buzzing sound could be heard as the air vibrated. The fist imprint was obliterating the sound wave. The sound wave was also obliterating the fist imprint. The two forces were evenly matched, and it seemed like they would be contending against each other for a long time. Su Jingxing took this in and decisively added another punch. Boom! The air exploded. Another silvery black fist broke the air and dropped straight down. The two fists merged together, and the power that burst out in an instant destroyed most of the terrifying sound wave with a bang. The remaining half hit the head of the mutated earthworm. Bang! With a muffled sound, the mutated earthworm was struck to the ground and it twitched 3 times. Electric arcs shot out from its body. Crack! Crack! Bang! 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 The mutated earthworm, which was in great pain, shook its body and crazily swung its tail into the surrounding ruins. With every strike, an object would shatter or the cement ground would crack. Lots of electric arcs shot out and scattered everywhere like snakes. Following the principle of reducing waste, Su Jingxing took out Thunderbolt and wrapped it in his true energy. Then, using the technique of saber control with energy, he moved Thunderbolt towards the ground to absorb the electric arcs. Pa! 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 Sparks flew. Once Thunderbolt came into contact with the electric arcs, it started to swallow them. It was as if it had been starving for countless years. No matter how many electric arcs the mutated earthworm released, Thunderbolt would swallow them all. The mutated earthworm soon discovered this change. It no longer cared about Su Jingxing who in the air, nor did it understand why Su Jingxing had stopped attacking. After the mutated earthworm discovered that Thunderbolt was absorbing the electric arcs, it was furious. It even temporarily suppressed the intense pain it was feeling. Its ugly mouth, which had become numb from the impact of the punch, opened widely at the first moment. Its body as thick as a water bucket charged towards Thunderbolt. Under Su Jingxing's astonished gaze, it directly swallowed Thunderbolt. Then, with a flick of its tail, its body slithered quickly and left the cement ground. It burrowed into a patch of dirt and disappeared. In midair, the corners of Su Jingxing's lips twitched. He didn't chase after it, nor did he attack the soil. It was not that he had abandoned Thunderbolt. Instead, this act by the mutated earthworm was too helpful. The mutated earthworm thought that Thunderbolt was just an electric equipment that could be easily handled given its digestive ability. After quickly absorbing the electricity, the residue could be immediately spat out. But in fact, when Thunderbolt entered its stomach, it was like a hungry wolf plunging into a flock of sheep. It was even a huge flock of sheep that were everywhere, and it could devour these delicious and plump sheep as it wished. Without needing Su Jingxing's thoughts to guide it, Thunderbolt had already started absorbing electric arcs crazily. Just as Su Jingxing had guessed, the mutated earthworm's body contained a large amount of electricity. Now this electricity was being absorbed by Thunderbolt. No matter how hard the mutated earthworm tried to control it, it could knock the connection off. Bam! Mud splattered as a figure burrowed out from the ground. Roar! The mutated earthworm that had returned to the surface was writhing about on ground. It opened its mouth and tried to spit out Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, the Thunderbolt was like a nail that was fixed firmly on its abdomen, absorbing electricity non-stop. Roar! Roar! The earthworm mutant beast rolled, snarled, and roared hysterically, but it could not shake off the Thunderbolt no matter what. Su Jingxing was amused as he watched from midair. Cough. You were the one who wanted to swallow it. I didn't put it in there. What's that saying again? Since you can't resist, just accept your fate. You asked for it yourself. Oh. There's such a thing. Suddenly, Su Jingxing's eyes narrowed as he watched the mutated earthworm that had suddenly split into two, and he raised his brows slightly. The regenerative ability of earthworms was indeed very strong. If it broke into two pieces and loses one of them, it could regrow. The problem was that Su Jingxing wouldn't allow that. On the ground, the mutated earthworm suddenly broke into two pieces and immediately separated to flee. But before it could move, Su Jingxing had already circulated 350 years of true energy cultivation to condense a terrifying pressure that held the mutated earthworm down on the spot. At the same time, he controlled Thunderbolt that in the air to strengthen its absorption ability and absorbed large electric currents that were visible to the naked eye from the broken body of the mutated earthworm. Faced with the suppression of 350 years of true energy cultivation, the two halves of the earthworm beast could barely move, let alone escape separately. They were frozen on the spot, and the mutated earthworm could only watch as electric currents flowed out of them and entered Thunderbolt. Roar! Roar! The earthworm mutant beast roared with grief and indignation, and an ugly mouth appeared on its tail as it roared incessantly. Mutated beasts were all intelligent, and the mutated earthworm was no exception. At this moment, it knew that it had met its match. Struggling with all his might, it howled non-stop, begging for mercy. Unfortunately, Su Jingxing ignored the struggling roars. He circulated his soul power madly and controlled Thunderclap to absorb the electric currents at the greatest speed. Chi! 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 Bright electric light blossomed in the air. The mutated earthworm's roars gradually became softer. Along with it, the electric currents absorbed by Thunderbolt were also decreasing. The last electric current flowed out of the mutated earthworm and entered Thunderbolt. Crack! Crack! An electric spark bloomed in the air and the scene came to an abrupt halt. The finger-sized Thunderbolt regained its silence and floated in midair. The two halves of the dark brown mutated earthworm were lying limply on the ground, motionless. But Su Jingxing knew that it wasn't dead yet. It was just exhausted. So. Boom! Boom! The air suddenly exploded, and the explosion reverberated around the mutated earthworm. Su Jingxing used the air-splitting palm from a distance. When the palm imprint appeared, it had already struck the mutated earthworm's broken body. It shattered into pieces on the spot. Card +1. Su Jingxing took out the card he had extracted and held it in his palm to read the information. He wanted to see what function card he had picked up. The result was very surprising. Life Extending Card. The life extension card did not extend one's lifespan, but one's vitality. Unlocking it would allow one to obtain a stream of boundless vitality that would allow withered trees to sprout leaves in spring and old trees to bloom. For naturally aging human cells, it can effectively slow down the process and rejuvenate a person. As for broken organs, lesions, and missing organs, the effects were limited. The latter needed the regeneration card. The life extension card only provided vitality. Even so, Su Jingxing was pleasantly surprised. Concentration Fruit Tree. He did not need the life extension card for the time being. On the contrary, would the boundless vitality obtained from unlocking this card be useful to the concentration fruit tree? Would it be able to speed up its maturity? With strong vitality, the growth of plants would be affected to some extent. For example, they would grow bigger and be of better quality. As for whether it could accelerate the maturation, Su Jingxing didn't know. Although he wasn't sure, it wouldn't stop Su Jingxing from using the life extension card on the concentration fruit tree. It was because it was a concentration fruit tree, a heavenly treasure, not an ordinary plant. Of course, it was unclear whether injecting a tremendous amount of vitality into the concentration fruit tree at one go was a good or bad idea. If it failed to accelerate the maturation and cause the concentration fruit tree to mutate, Su Jingxing would suffer a huge loss. It would truly be a double loss. On the contrary, if it really did accelerate the maturation, the benefits would be great. Energy-gathering stones were hard to come by after all. Most of them were in the possession of large factions, while individual martial artists had very few. Even if the area was expanded to the entire Qinghe city, there still weren't many energy-gathering stones. Even if Su Jingxing managed to buy all of them, they wouldn't be of much help to the concentration fruit tree. Therefore, this was a choice, a big gamble. He would either be able to harvest the concentration fruit in advance or waste a life extension card. Problems might even arise with the concentration fruit tree. What should I choose? Su Jingxing pondered to himself. He put away the life extension card and did not use it for the time being. This was not the time to think about anything else. A mutated beast had appeared in the waste-to-energy power plant. Amidst the panic and screams earlier, someone had called the Martial Suppression Office, the public security team, and even for ambulances. Right now, the vehicles were already on the road and rushing towards the power plant. Su Jingxing's outfit was not suitable for him to meet those people. Immediately, he descended from the sky and collected Thunderbolt before picking up his 3 treasure-throwing daggers. Then, he found an empty corner, put away his cloak and mask, and ran back to the parking area of the corpse transportation truck. He smeared some mud on his face and laid down on the ground, pretending to be unconscious like the others. Although the battle with the mutated earthworm had ended quickly, the continuous roars of the mutated earthworm and the sound waves still knocked everyone inside and outside the power plant unconscious. Fortunately, there weren't many dead people, and Su Jingxing didn't extract many cards. This was also the reason why he was relaxed. In comparison, Su Jingxing was rather pleased with the effect of his true energy cultivation. Earlier, he had circulated all of his cultivation to suppress the mutated earthworm, immobilizing it. This was the first time he had used this secret ability. The origin of the secret ability came from an ancient book called Extensive Use of True Energy. It was something Su Jingxing had unintentionally discovered when he was searching for information on the concentration fruit tree on the top level of Xiantian University Library. At that time, he had flipped through a few pages and memorized this small ability. Extensive Use of True Energy. As the title suggested, it was an ancient book about how to use true energy. While it might seem easy to manipulate one's true energy cultivation to suppress, there was a very high requirement to it. 100 years. Only those whose true energy cultivation had reached 100 years or more would be able to control their true energy to exert a terrifying pressure that could suppress others even without releasing it externally. Those with a cultivation of less than 100 years wouldn't be able to achieve it. That was also the reason why the secret ability was called a small one. How many people possessed 100 years of true energy cultivation? It could be said that one could determine the strength of a fourth-grade martial artist using this secret ability. Those with 60 years of cultivation or 100 years of cultivation were all considered to be in the fourth grade. However, would their capabilities be similar? Clearly, a martial artist with 100 years of cultivation would be stronger. 40 years of true energy cultivation was enough to make up for the gap in other aspects. The difference between those with 100 years of cultivation and 200 years of cultivation was even greater. Su Jingxing had a true energy cultivation of 351 years. It was not an exaggeration to say that he could defeat all fourth-grade martial artists. Cough cough. After lying on the ground and pretending to be unconscious for a while, the ambulances, the public security team, and the martial suppression office arrived at the power plant in succession. The arrival of a group of people caused the entire power plant to immediately go from silent to noisy. Cleanup, rescue, searches. Dozens of people were moving in and out of the power plant. Su Jingxing listened to the commotion and slowly woke up with the help of the medical staff. Then, he tried to move his limbs and confirmed that he was fine. He refused to go to the hospital and took over the role of the heavily injured Gu Bo, who was still unconscious. He moved the corpses onto the corpse transportation truck and drove back to the crematorium. After returning to the crematorium and handing over the corpses, he told the manager about the incident and rushed to the hospital to visit Gu Bo. By the time he got to the hospital, Gu Bo was already awake. His diagnosis was a slight concussion and some damage to his eardrums. In the next 6 months or so, his hearing would be impaired. All in all, it was still all right. Compared to the others who had died, it was already a blessing in disguise. Then, as expected, Su Jingxing accepted the martial suppression office's questioning. It was mainly regarding the mutated beast and the experts who killed it. Regarding this, Su Jingxing naturally told the truth. He only heard the roar and then fainted. He didn't know what happened after that. He did not know how the mutated beast appeared, what it looked like, who killed it, and who the people, who killed it looked like. This was the truth. Except for Su Jingxing, everyone else in the power plant, except for the few who had seen the enormous body of the mutated earthworm, only heard roars. Then, there was nothing else. And the few who saw it were all dead. Being able to see the mutated earthworm meant that they were right beside it. This mutated earthworm that devoured electricity had such a terrifying roar. At such a close distance, it would be strange if those people didn't die from the impact of the sound waves. Thus, the Martial Suppression Office did not get much information for their investigation. The mutated earthworm could still be examined and identified through the broken parts left at the scene. Yet there were absolutely no clues as to who killed it. It would be better to leave Li Linzhou to feel troubled over this. Back at the small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, Su Jingxing excitedly took out Thunderbolt and sensed how much energy this blood spirit weapon had accumulated. 1/10. No, 1/20. After absorbing the electric power of the mutated earthworm, Thunderbolt now filled 1/20 of its energy reserves. It didn't look like much, but Su Jingxing calculated that it was enough for him to use 7 or 8 times. Of course, not for attacks, but a boost in speed. He could experience a true lightning teleportation. Ding dong. A text message notification sounded. Su Jingxing kept Thunderbolt and unlocked his phone. Senior, there's news about the energy-gathering stones. News has come so quickly. Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows and immediately dialed Shen Qian's number. The call connected. Senior. How many energy-gathering stones does the other party have? Su Jingxing asked. 2 pieces, Shen Qian replied. The other party said that they were passed down from their ancestors. 1 piece is big and 1 piece is small. The big one is 15 centimeters long and the small one is about 10 centimeters. Sure, I'll take it all. Ask when the other party wants to close the deal. Well, the other party mentioned it in advance. If Senior wants it, then we'll do the transaction tomorrow night at the South Bank Bridge in the Western District, Shen Qian quickly replied. It'll be at 11:30 p.m. Sure. I'll wait at the bridge. Tell the other party to come on time. Yes, Senior. Su Jingxing hung up. Completing the transaction at 11:30 p.m. at the South Bank Bridge. Is the seller of the energy-gathering stones being cautious, or do they have other ideas? Su Jingxing chuckled and put his phone away. No matter what, given his current strength, he had nothing to fear. The price that Su Jingxing offered for the energy-gathering stones was calculated according to its weight. 5 million great U$ for 1 kilogram. This price was significantly high, but Su Jingxing was not short of money. What he lacked was time, so he deliberately set a high price to lure out the people with the energy-gathering stones. And a 10-centimeter long, palm-sized energy-gathering stone weighed a kilogram. In other words, if the 2 energy-gathering stones to be traded tomorrow night were real, the seller would be able to get more than 12 million great U$. For ordinary people, it was equivalent to becoming rich overnight, and it was the kind where they did not have to pay taxes. For Su Jingxing, it would speed up the ripening of the concentration fruit tree. As such, he hoped that they were real. There was no need to test Thunderbolt's abilities. After all, there were only a limited number of times they could be used. He could test out the might of the 5 elements ring he had obtained from the Shi family's treasury vault. After taking out the 5 elements ring, Su Jingxing first condensed his soul power and used the method of controlling the ring to sense for the energy attribute of this wondrous object. It's actually frozen. Su Jingxing was shocked. 5 elements ring, aren't the 5 elements supposed to refer to metal, wood, water, fire, and earth? Why would it have an ice attribute? Or does this ice attribute belong under the water attribute? In essence, that could be the case. When ice melts, doesn't it become water? When water freezes into a solid state, isn't that ice? With these thoughts in mind, Su Jingxing didn't pursue the matter any further. Instead, he used his surging soul power to carefully sense this frozen ring. A moment later, he frowned slightly. After a thorough examination, he received 2 pieces of news, one good and one bad. The good news was that although this frozen ring was damaged, it could still be used. The bad news was that because the ring was damaged, it would disintegrate after 3 uses at most. If the process of transferring energy was too intense, then there was only one chance to use it. It was equivalent to using it as a trump card. Su Jingxing felt that it was a pity, but he didn't take it to heart. After all, it was free. Having 1 to 3 chances of using it was already making a killing. Correspondingly, Su Jingxing also gave up on testing the might. These trump cards could only be used as trump cards for now. In the afternoon, Su Jingxing continued to move corpses. In fact, now that his extraction range was more than 100 meters. No matter where Su Jingxing was in the crematorium, he could extract cards. He was still doing the monotonous job of moving corpses because he had not gotten an opportunity. An opportunity to reveal that he was a martial artist. However, even after a few days, it did not come up. Su Jingxing was patient, so he was not anxious. Unexpectedly, when it was almost time for dinner in the evening, his chance came. Clang! A loud noise suddenly came from the farewell ceremony hall, startling everyone in the hall. What's the situation over there? I don't know. I think a crematorium employee dropped the corpse. Huh. Amidst the discussions. Pa! A loud slap sounded from the north corner of the farewell ceremony hall. What followed was an angry roar. How do you work? Did your eyes not grow well, or did your hands not grow well? You don't even know how to move corpses. Did you grow up eating shit? Did the crematorium recruit you to drop corpses? Ah! Pa! 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 The slapping sounds did not stop. Stop hitting, stop hitting. He didn't do it on purpose. Voices begging for mercy rang out. Old thing, get lost. The person who had struck out was furious and continued with the slaps. How dare you throw my dad on the ground? I'll cripple you. Stop. With a shout, Su Jingxing rushed into the farewell ceremony hall at a speed slightly faster than ordinary people. Kong de Bao followed behind him. The first thing Su Jingxing saw when he rushed into the hall was a ferocious-looking young man kicking Feng Taijian who was on the ground. Enough, stop. Su Jingxing sped up again and rushed over. Stop my ass. The young man ignored Su Jingxing and continued to kick Feng Taijian. He increased his force and raised his foot high in an attempt to break Feng Taijian's palm. Whoo! Bam! A muffled bang resounded as the young man's figure retreated backwards. He stepped back repeatedly on the ground, and almost lost his footing before falling to the ground. It was Su Jingxing who arrived in time and kicked him away. He did not use much strength, less than 1,000 caddies. Even so, the young man still felt an excruciating pain in his chest, as if a few of his ribs were broken. A 9th-grade martial artist. The young man with an ugly expression endured the pain and glared angrily at Su Jingxing. He growled, so what if you're a 9th-grade martial artist? I'm one too. As soon as he finished speaking, he used footwork that alternated between flashing left and right as he pounced towards Su Jingxing. Mountain-splitting palm. The young man roared. Stacking waves fist. Su Jingxing also shouted in cooperation. Using the first few moves of the 100 steps raining fist together with his footwork, he started an intense battle against the young man in front of dozens of people in the farewell ceremony hall. Bang! Bang! Pa! Pa! Bang! Bang! After 10 exchanges, Su Jingxing suddenly sped up and struck the young man's arms that he had hastily crossed in front of his chest. With a cracking sound, the bones in the young man's arm were broken. Under the heavy hit, he was pushed back more than 10 meters and collapsed onto the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood and groaned incessantly. He lost his arrogance and superiority from before. Due to the suddenness of the exchange, the fight ended quickly. Everyone was stunned. Some were shocked, some were confused, and some were dumbfounded. It was only when Wu Shuhan hurriedly led his men into the main hall and shouted for them to stop that everyone came to their senses. Then. Amazing! This young man is not bad. With such strong combat ability, I think he will reach the 8th grade soon. Yes, yes. He's definitely not in the 9th grade given how outstanding he was. The key is that this brother looks too young. I wonder if he's even 20. 20. You're thinking too much. I know this young man. His name is Su Jingxing. He's not even 16 this year. What? The hall was noisy. Wu Shuhan and the others, who had just entered, were stunned. What's going on? Wu Shuhan patted the dazed Kong de Bao on the shoulder. Little Su is a 9th grade, no, 8th grade martial artist. Kong de Bao stuttered as he answered. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, Little Su is an 8th grade martial artist. What? Wu Shuhan and the others were shocked. An 8th grade martial artist? Su Jingxing is an 8th grade martial artist. Repeat yourself. Wu Shuhan took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He said in a deep voice, "You said that little Su Jingxing is an 8th grade martial artist. Are you sure? Are you sure?" Well. Kong de Bao opened his mouth and came to his senses. With a bitter smile, he said, "I don't know." "What do you mean you don't know?" Wu Shuhan glared at him. "I really don't know." Kong de Bao took a deep breath as he pointed at Su Jingxing, Feng Taijian, and a young man who was lying on the ground. He quickly narrated the entire incident. In the end, he sighed and said, "Regardless of whether he's in the 9th grade or the 8th grade, little Su was amazing just now. With just a few punches and kicks, he defeated that guy. Everyone present can be a witness." "Yes, I can bear witness." "Me too. Old Wu, your crematorium is filled with hidden talents. There's such a young 8th grade martial artist. I heard that this little brother isn't even 16 years old yet." "I don't think he's in the 8th grade. Even if he's not in the 8th grade, he's still at the peak of 9th grade." "That's right." The surrounding crowd started discussing excitedly. Wu Shuhan took a few deep breaths as he took them in. So many people have seen it, which means that this isn't a prank. Su Jingxing is really a martial artist. At this thought, Wu Shuhan calmed himself down and hurried forward on quick steps. Seeing this, the others hastily followed behind. "Director, you're here." Su Jingxing, who had just helped Feng Taijian up, scratched his head in embarrassment when he saw Wu Shuhan. Wu Shuhan nodded his head and looked at Feng Taijian, who still looked spaced out. He then glanced at the young man who was being helped up by his family and said seriously, "I have already learned what happened. You don't need to worry. The crematorium will handle the subsequent matters, so you don't need to stay here. How about this, come with me to the office first." "Okay." Su Jingxing nodded cooperatively. Wu Shuhan then pointed at 2 managers and said coolly, "The 2 of you stay behind to handle the rest of the matter. Compensate and fine them accordingly. Although we won't cause trouble, we're not afraid of trouble." "Yes, don't worry, Director. We know what to do." The 2 managers nodded and walked towards the young man's group. Wu Shuhan turned around and led Su Jingxing and Feng Taijian to his office. Seeing this, Kong de Bao followed along with the others. On the way, they bumped into the security team that was rushing over. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're late. We overslept with our afternoon nap. We didn't expect this to happen. By the way, how's little Feng?" The captain of the security team, Old Song, looked at Feng Taijian with concern. I'm fine." Feng Taijian replied absent-mindedly with his swollen face. That's good, that's good." Old Song heaved a sigh of relief. "Since you're fine, all your bonuses for this month are gone." Wu Shuhan interrupted expressionlessly. "Huh?" Old Song was stunned. "Why, do you have a problem with that?" Wu Shuhan arched an eyebrow. No. The corners of Old Song's eyes twitched. He quickly waved his hand and said, "This was indeed our mistake. We deserve the punishment, we deserve it." "Humph." Wu Shuhan sneered coldly. Then he ignored him and left on large strides. Su Jingxing followed. Kong de Bao pulled Feng Taijian behind him. They left quickly, leaving the security team behind with grim expressions. Among all crematorium staff, the security team was the most comfortable. Although most of them were ordinary people, the remaining half were not talented and relied on hard work to reach the 9th grade. However, the work they were responsible for was also easy. Daily patrols, and stopping relatives of the deceased from causing trouble. Because corpses had to be incinerated as soon as possible, in many circumstances, the corpse would have been incinerated into ashes before their loved ones arrived. Some relatives would cause trouble because of this. These people were basically ordinary people, so it was easy for the security team to deal with them. If it was a martial artist causing trouble, the security team would immediately dissuade them from the side. After a long time, the security team gradually became lazy. Almost all of them were wily old foxes, and their patrolling figures were rarely seen. As the director of the crematorium, Wu Shuhan knew the state of the security team. However, he had been enduring and was waiting for an opportunity to tidy the team up. Today, Feng Taijian was beaten up. His opportunity was finally here. Of course, compared to dealing with the security team, Wu Shuhan was more concerned about Su Jingxing's ability. In the director's office. "Come, little Su, strike with all your might." Wu Shuhan stood beside a measuring machine and gestured for Su Jingxing to punch. Kong Dabeo and the rest stood around waiting anxiously. Even Feng Taijian, who was applying ointment, recovered from his trance. It was already confirmed that Su Jingxing was a martial artist. But whether he was in the 8th or 9th grade was to be deliberated. For martial artists in the lower ranks, the amount of power that one could burst out with without making a move was the key to doing so. Although Su Jingxing had told him on the way that his internal force still could not be exuded externally, Wu Shuhan insisted on testing it. "Sure, let's have that." Su Jingxing controlled himself and started performing. Bang! He clenched his left hand into a fist and punched the machine. A string of numbers flashed on the dial. When the numbers stopped jumping. 2815. Bang! He clenched his right hand into a fist and landed another punch on the measuring machine. When the numbers stopped jumping. 2736. Ha! Wu Shuhan, who had been holding it back the whole time, finally couldn't hold it in any longer when he saw the two statistics. He burst into laughter. "Good, good, very good. That's right, little Su, well done. Impressive, almost in the 8th grade. Little Su, impressive." The others around echoed in agreement. Kong Dabeo and Feng Taijian were also wide-eyed in disbelief and joy. This was especially true for Kong Dabeo. After recovering from his shock, he came to a sudden realization. "I understand now. I understand now. Did little Su move out to make it more convenient to practice martial arts?" Yes. Su Jingxing was grateful for his imagination, even though it was the truth. But for it to come from Su Jingxing himself and for others to say it, they were two different matters. Pa! Upon receiving confirmation, Kong Dabeo clapped his hands and became even more excited. "I knew it. Little Su, why would you move out because you're obsessed with a woman? So it's because you want to practice martial arts. By the way, little Su, does your little girlfriend, Wan Rong, have any complaints when you practice martial arts every day?" Su Jingxing was speechless. "Alright, everyone calm down." Wu Shuhan took a deep breath and calmed himself down. He gestured for everyone to quieten down and said happily, "Everyone has seen little Su's strength. I've decided to change his position and promote him to the vice captain of the security team. How is that?" "Sure. Yes, that's a good thing. I support this too." Everyone, including Kong Dabeo, raised their hands in agreement. The captain of the security team, Old Song, was not as strong as Su Jingxing. He was so close to 3,000 caddies and the 8th grade. Su Jingxing was fully qualified to be the vice captain. However, Su Jingxing was a little hesitant. "Well, if you have any questions, feel free to ask." Wu Shuhan smiled encouragingly. "Ahem, it's like this." Su Jingxing smiled in embarrassment. "I have no problem with being the vice captain. Thank you, director. But, can I take on part-time duties with the corpse collection team at the same time? I prefer to head out to the scene and increase." "No problem." Before Su Jingxing finished his explanation, Wu Shuhan agreed. "Since you like to go out, why don't we do this? You can be the vice captain of all three teams, the corpse collection team, the security team and the transport team at the same time. Huh. Everyone present was stunned when they heard this. This vice captain was not referring to the smaller teams, but the entire teams. Su Jingxing's capabilities were enough for him to take on the role. However, taking on 3 roles at a time had never happened before. Of course, everyone present could more or less see through Wu Shuhan's thoughts. Show sincerity in recruiting the talented. Su Jingxing was not even 16 years old and was already at the peak of the 9th grade. Before the age of 20, he would definitely be able to advance to 8th, or even 7th grade. And before the age of 30, he had a 90% chance of reaching the 6th grade. Once Su Jingxing advanced to the 6th grade, with him being an employee of the crematorium, Wu Shuhan would have great credit. Even the crematorium staff would benefit. This was also the reason why no one objected to Wu Shuhan promoting Su Jingxing to be the vice captain of the security team. Once Su Jingxing advanced to the 6th grade, everyone would benefit. However, making him the vice captain of all 3 teams at the same time. Was that too much? Even Su Jingxing was stunned by Wu Shuhan's offer. His excuse was that he liked to go out on outdoor tasks. But it was because going out was his only chance to encounter things. For example, the corpse puppet that Mei Jinju turned into, several branches of the Black Tiger Gang being destroyed, and the mutated earthworm in the power plant this time. He would not be able to encounter these happenings at all if he were to stay in the crematorium all day. Only by going out would he have a chance of doing so. For this reason, Su Jingxing tried to see if he could take on part-time duties. He didn't expect Wu Shuhan to be so supportive, directly offering him the position of vice captain of 3 teams. Is he afraid that I will run away, or is he trying to ruin me with flattery? At this thought, Su Jingxing coughed lightly and said in rejection, "Thank you, director." "Look at you, you're still calling me director. Call me Uncle Wu." Wu Shuhan interrupted. "Uncle Wu." Su Jingxing grinned. "Thank you for your high regard, Uncle Wu, but to be the vice captain of 3 teams at the same time, I'm afraid that I don't have enough time and can't handle so many things. Being vice captain of the security team and doing part-time duties as a corpse collector is enough." Wu Shuhan fell silent. After a moment, he said, "You're right. I didn't consider everything thoroughly. It's not worth it to take up time you could use to practice martial arts for other things." "No. You don't have to say anything, I understand." Wu Shuhan reached out to interrupt him. "I understand, really. Compared to practicing martial arts, everything else is trivial." Su Jingxing was speechless. "Fine. Whatever you say, old man. It saves me the trouble of finding excuses. That's it then. We'll do as you say. You'll be vice captain of the security team with part-time corpse collecting duties. If you run into any problems, you don't need to apply for leave. You can just go and let me know when you're back." Wu Shuhan said with big smiles. "Thank you, Uncle Wu." Su Jingxing hurriedly thanked him. He could confirm now, Wu Shuhan wasn't trying to ruin him with praises. Instead, he was trying to bind him to the crematorium. If it were anyone else, there was a 90% chance that they would quit and leave the crematorium if they could become an 8th-grade martial artist in a few months' time. Currently, all the martial arts workers in the crematorium had no talent and relied on hard work to get where they were. The person with the highest realm was Wu Shuhan, 8th grade. With the talented ones, for the sake of their future, who would stay at the crematorium? In the eyes of others, Su Jingxing was a pretty talented person. In order to keep Su Jingxing, Wu Shuhan naturally offered generous conditions. The vice captain of the security team and part-time corpse moving duties were all trivial matters. The real benefit was that he did not need to apply for leave. If it weren't for the fact that the crematorium was a government institution, Wu Shuhan would have told Su Jingxing directly that he didn't even need to come to work. He just needed Su Jingxing's name in the crematorium. Su Jingxing caught this hidden hint. Many of the people present did too. Although they were envious, no one objected. As always, as long as Su Jingxing remained a part of the crematorium, everyone would benefit. Because of this, everyone tacitly acknowledged Su Jingxing's upcoming post. If you want to go to work, then come. If you don't want to, then don't. This matter was settled. The office had a cheerful atmosphere, everyone in the office congratulated Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing cooperated and invited everyone to a hotel in the Western District for dinner. Everyone agreed readily. Seeing that it was about time,